Okay, I will call the Dublin City Council meeting on Monday, November 7th back to order. Christina, could you lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first special presentation is concerning Veterans Week. Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Noble, would you please come forward with your fellow veterans, and John has a proclamation to present to you.
Gentlemen, whereas Veterans Day was originally known as Armistice Day to commemorate the signing of the armistice with Germany at the end of World War I, and was intended to honor all soldiers who have died in the service to our country, and whereas in 1954, the name of the holiday was changed to Veterans Day to pause and reflect on the service and sacrifice of all the veterans who have answered the call to protect America's freedoms. And whereas there are nearly 900,000 veterans in the state of Ohio and 18.8 million veterans across the United States who have preserved the peace domestically and throughout the world over decades of conflict. And whereas American veterans have selfishly fought for our country, defended the innocent, protected the democratic ideals that we hold so dear, and placed security of our nation before their own safety, all while facing the trauma and severe hardships of war. And whereas on Veterans Day and every day, it is important that we pay tribute to the brave men and women who ensured our safety and reflected the best of our country. And whereas VFW Post 106-901 and the Wesley G. Davis American Legion Post 800 invite veterans and their families to breakfast hosted by La Chatelaine in historic Dublin and a public ceremony to follow at the Grounds of Remembrance in Dublin Veterans Park on the 11th day of the 11th month, Friday, November 11th at the 11th hour for a time of recognition and remembrance. Now, therefore, I, John Reiner, Vice Mayor of the City of Dublin, in behalf of our Honorable Mayor Gregory S. Peterson, Mayor of the City, on behalf of the Dublin City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of November the 6th through the 12th, the Veterans Week in the City of Dublin, urging all citizens to recognize the sacrifices made by the veterans in preserving our freedoms and encouraging all citizens to display the U.S. flag and to participate in patriotic activities throughout the week. Signed this 4th day of November 2016 by Gregory S. Peterson, our Mayor. Gentlemen. Guy, thank you for your service. God love you. Thank you for your service. Hey, see you. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming in, and thanks to all the veterans in our community and across our country, and we welcome everyone to join us later this week at our celebration. Coach Butcher, are you here? Please come forward and bring Abby Kiefer with you. Abby Kiefer, ladies and gentlemen, attends Dublin Jerome High School and is the state girls golf champion for the state of Ohio. And Ms. Grooms knows Abby and has a proclamation to present her.
Whereas Dublin Jerome High School junior Abby Kiefer earned medalist honors in the Division I state championships October 22nd, 2016, becoming the school's first individual state champion and continuing Dublin Jerome's long-standing tradition of excellence in golf. Whereas Abby, who competed in her third state title tournament, shot a 71, which included 2 birdies at the Ohio State University Gray Course. And where Abby's score in the tournament, which was limited to 1 day due to inclement weather, earned her the co-medalist title with Medina Highland High School golfer Madison Butler. And whereas Abby has had an outstanding season, being voted the 2016 Central Ohio Player of the Year in one of the deepest fields in a decade, and earning first-team All-Central Ohio honors and first-team All-Ohio Capital Conference. And whereas she won a 2-time Division I Ohio State girls team champion, having played on the state champion Dublin Jerome girls golf team in 2014 and 2015. And whereas the head coach of the Dublin Jerome girls golf team, C.D. Butcher, who deserves recognition for his commitment to building an impressive tradition of great competitors in high school golf, which once again is being recognized at the state level. Now, therefore, Gregory S. Peterson, Mayor of the City of Dublin, Ohio, on behalf of Dublin City Council, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 12th, 2016, is Abby Kiefer Day in the City of Dublin, and extend our congratulations to her on this outstanding achievement. Signed this 7th day of November, Greg Peterson. Have a couple things, that's for you. Have a couple gifts for you, and you make me feel old today. I used to play basketball with your mom and watch her play tennis in high school, so it makes me feel old, but that's okay. Golfers can never have enough hats. And I'm sure you will collect a lot of crystal over your time. This is our closest thing we have to crystal here in the City of Dublin. So congratulations. Thank you for the way you present yourself on the golf course, but more importantly, the way you present yourself in our community, and really the way that you represent all things that are great about high school athletics. So thanks.
We'll make this quick, but first I'd like to thank the mayor and the city council for honoring us. These girls deserve all the recognition they can get. Abby's just one of many fine girls that we had this year, and as a state champion, it goes without saying that's a special honor. There's thousands of girls in the state that wish they were in her shoes. She's won 2 other state titles, and to echo what Chris said, she's an outstanding young girl. In my 12 years, I don't know if I've had a more fun personality. To see how she represents herself and her teammates and her family, and of course you guys, the community. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Abby. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks for coming up, Coach. Congratulations. Good work. Well done. Okay, I'd ask Kathy Harder, are you here? Kathy, come on forward. Welcome, Kathy.
Hi,
Thank you for
thank you.
coming in.
I want to come tonight and talk about PERC. I'm Kathy Harder. I'm at 7825 Holliston Court in Dublin, 43016. Thank you for the opportunity to come this evening, Mayor and members of council. As you know, PERC is Parents Encouraging Responsible Choices, and it's a group that was started by PTOs to all come together and work together and bring programming for parents all in the district, which has been great. We've had a great start to this school year. We started off with Family Night, and Family Night has been going on for some time now, where we pick a night in October, and we'll do one again later in the year. And we work with Dublin schools and also ACT, and we come together and contact area restaurants, and they give a discount to families, and you go and eat there. And then there's some table tents on the tables where it starts some conversation and so forth. So we had a really good night that night. Also, the library and the rec center is also participating as well too. So it's a great opportunity. We then moved on to in also early October is our first programming. It was youth activities and sports and the physical and emotional aspect. So we worked with Nationwide Children's Hospital, and Dr. Mike Patrick came. He's a pediatrician. He also has a podcast that goes all over the country now and the world. There's a couple places that he has as well. But we had sports medicine physician, dietitian, a psychologist, and a high school trainer all at a round table. And what was very encouraging about this, which I thought was very interactive, was that we first went to the parents in Dublin School and sent out a survey and said, what kind of questions do you want to hear from this panel? And we really got tons of them back. So then our moderator, Dr. Patrick, he then incorporated all those in with the talk. And we're finding with PERC, the more we have an interaction with our community, they respond back, and then the programming is 1,000 times better. And we're kind of moving in that direction for sure. On Thursday, this Thursday, we're doing the same thing. On November 10th, Dr. Larry Rosen's coming. He's going to talk with our parents at 2 programs. The first one will be at 9:30, and then the second one will be at 7 o'clock at the Abbey Theater at the Dublin Rec Center. He's written several books concerning children with the distracted minds. The one book he has out there now is Understanding Our Obsession with Technology and Overcoming the Hold on It. And so we have worked with parents and sent out a survey asking what kind of questions they want and hearing back. But some of the things that he's going to be answering and talking about is how technology interferes with sleep, what happens to your kid when you take away their technology, and what can we do to help our kids and us to see technology in a healthy way, and how does technology interfere with learning? All of these are very, very important in real life things that parents are dealing with every day. So in January, so we hope people come Thursday night over at the rec center. In January, we've done this program before where it's the day in the life of a high school student, but we're putting a little twist on it this year. And so in January, we'll have an adult who will experience a day in high school. So the night before, they will receive a book bag full with homework. And as you know, with high schoolers, you got to get that done, and it takes a while to get all that done. And then they'll show up at school at one of the high schools, and then they'll do a day. They also will need a link person, a person who helps you through that day, making sure you get to class and so forth, because we want it to be a good experience, but a truthful experience about that. So we're kind of fine-tuning all that. Then when they come to the program that evening, we'll just have one program. It'll be that person as well as then students up there as well. And we're working with the guidance counselors and everybody around the table, so there'll be table discussions then too. So I'll get back with you about those. We also have a new logo. It's behind me, and it's kind of a refreshing one, just kind of freshed up a little bit and so forth, and so you'll see that happening. And then in April is Street Smart. So a year ago, we worked with Dublin schools and doing Street Smart. We had a great turnout for the program, and people wanted to stay longer. And we think it was really teed up from all the work that happened where the community and the city came together, and so parents are still wanting to see that. So we're providing that in April. But we thank you for all your support because we have wonderful opportunities over at the rec center that keeps our costs down, and we try and use all that money wisely. And thank you for this time tonight that I could come and speak with you.
Surely, thank you, Kathy. You are so dedicated to our community, and particularly our kids, and all the work that you do. We really appreciate it. I mean, our kids are struggling with a lot of really serious issues. How are you going to pick the poor person that has to go back to high school?
That was my question, too.
How's that?
Yeah, we're
What
picking that
short straw is
person
that person
carefully,
gonna
and
go?
we're almost, there may be a couple, so we're kind of trying to figure that as we're talking. So, and they have to agree to it, too, because it's a hard
boy.
day. It wouldn't be an
Somebody
easy
who
one.
misses a meeting.
That's right, yeah.
Thank you for what you do. We
Okay.
look forward to hearing back from you on all this
Okay,
stuff.
sounds
So,
good. Thank you.
Kathy. Georgia Hoover. Ms. Hoover? Welcome. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm
Good.
actually going to let my students speak to you about our cafe thrift today.
Take it away, fellas.
My name is Trip Whiting. I live at 4603 Shropshire Circle, Dublin 43016. We are students from Dublin Side High School, and along with our teacher, Miss Georgia Hoover, we would like to share a little bit about a great program we call Cafe Thrift. Cafe Thrift began 5 years ago when Mrs. Hoover and Mrs. Gameri and PTO representative Mrs. Kathy Harder were talking about how they could help students in need. From these conversations, Cafe Thrift was created as all students like to thrift. We soon found that we were doing more than helping one another. We were helping our environment by recycling and reusing. People started bringing in clothes that were just sitting in backs of closets, and in many cases, that still had tags on them. Now, Cafe Thrift has turned into the ultimate recycling opportunity.
My name is Ishan Patel, and I live at 8841 Crampton Drive, Powell. So how Cafe Thrift works is that we collect clothing twice a year by asking our parents and our community members to donate gently used clothes. And thanks to Mrs. Harder's efforts, we have joined forces with Plato's Closet on Sawmill Road. They donate all the clothes that they don't use to Scioto, as well as coming on the actual day of the event to help pass out bags for the students to use for thrifting. And we have received tremendous support from Plato's Closet, and we're very grateful for this school local business partnership with them. Students, teachers, and parents, along with the PTO, spend time sorting and folding clothes to get them ready for the Cafe Thrift on November 17th. And the clothing that is left over is donated to the Welcome Warehouse. We're looking forward to this year's Cafe Thrift on November 17th, beginning at 7:30 a.m. and going till the end of the school day. It is great to see our student body at Scioto embracing the need for us to keep recycling and see that recycling should be an ongoing thought as to how to make this world a greener, cleaner, and better place. Thank you for letting us come tonight and talk about Cafe Thrift, and please let us know if you have any questions.
Questions from council? Thank you, fellas, for coming in. It never ceases to amaze me, our young people that take it upon themselves to do things like this, and the service that they're providing, usually to other underprivileged kids and recycling and all that. It's just never ceases to amaze me, the commitment you guys have to our community. Ms. Hoover, is there anything you want to add?
No, it's just this event has grown tremendously. It started off as something to help our students in need, and it's just for everyone, and it's amazing. The kids are so excited. The clothes have been coming in, Mrs. Harder brings bags in, the kids carry them up, and then as we're walking in, the kids are like, when is it, what time does it start? I gotta get there early this year, I'm putting it on my calendar. So it's just a big fun event, and everybody comes in, and the staff thrifts as well. I mean, it's a truly community event, and we couldn't have done it without Mrs. Harder's commitment to Scioto, and especially with her partnerships with Plato's Closet, and she also has some members from Kohl's coming in to donate some time to help us hold and get ready as well. So it's an amazing event.
That's fantastic, and that's November 17th, and it's there right at Dublin Scioto?
Yes, it's in our PAC, our Performing Arts Center.
So I understand that you get clothing that's donated, and you donate the clothes that are left over. Where do the proceeds go?
There are no proceeds. It's a completely free event.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing associated. That's why the
Nice.
kids love it so much.
I gotcha.
There's no
Okay.
limit to what they can take. They can take as much as they can carry or leave there and pick up later. So there's no money involved at all.
Great. Thank you.
Fantastic, great. Thank you for coming in. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Scott? Where is Scott? There he is. Scott Dring.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good,
Eric,
welcome.
Good evening. Do you care if I hang out over here so
Surely.
I can drive?
Go right ahead.
If I may, I'd also like to introduce Phil Smith. He's your city council representative on our board. Last, I guess it was last November, city council increased the bed tax revenue to the Convention and Visitors Bureau for sales and marketing purposes. And I'd like to take our 5 minutes here quickly and kind of focus on the results and the ROI, the return on your investment of those bed tax monies that you gave us and the results we got over the last 9 months or so. There were really 3 key deliverables back in January that we told we would produce as a result of your commitment to us. One was to generate new business. Another one is to raise awareness of the city and profile, and then figure out a way to really unify historic Dublin and Bridge Park as well. The first part, generating new business, we hired our first ever national sales manager, the first time we increased staff since 2001. We hired Pat King back in May. She's already generated 27 new leads for us, secured 10 new conferences and trade shows to the city in the short time she's been here. That equates to almost $500,000 of new hotel revenue as well. Another part of the revenue that we were able to do is 10 new trade shows that we never have been able to go to before. And those shows have already produced 25 new leads. Another key component of what we did is to really launch a regional awareness campaign. We've always in the past been able to promote Dublin and its great amenities in the state of Ohio, but we never really had the resources to begin to expand that to our key feeder markets. So we aggressively, for the first time, be able to promote Dublin to our key feeder markets, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Indianapolis, Charleston, and Fort Wayne. And we really focused on those efforts during a May, June, and July timeframe. And it really had a twofold type goal. One was to fill weekends during those times of need. Those are the times we needed during those periods, our weekend business, and other to really raise awareness. And to the point of filling weekends, one of the greatest metrics we have in terms of seeing if we're actually moving the needle as occupancy. So we looked at occupancy rates for May, June, and July. And if you look at this far left column here, the blue is 2015. Occupancy, there's about 2,000 rooms in the city of Dublin, so 75% occupancy for Friday is about 1,500 rooms, and that was average on a Friday in May. We were able to increase that to 82%. What that means, basically, that equates to about 150 additional rooms just on Fridays on average in the month of May. You times that by 4 Fridays, you're looking at 600 additional rooms just for Fridays in May. And you can see as well on Saturday, we saw some substantial increases as well, Sundays as well. You go to June, big increases on Fridays in June, 8%, 9% on Saturdays and so forth on Sunday. And then finally in July, a small increase on Fridays and then a substantial increase on Saturday and Sunday. So those are direct results. These aren't, estimates. These are hardcore real numbers that we have. One could say the naysayers out there, I guess you could say that, that the high tide was kind of raising all boats going from January to back before April, before we did this campaign. But if you look at those occupancy rates before we launched our campaign, it was relatively flat. So there's no question that there was impact in what we did in terms of results. Another key comparison we always like to do is see how our friends in Columbus are doing. So if you take exactly those same time periods, the blue was the city of Columbus, their rate of growth during those weekends. Obviously, the green is ours. You could see we substantially outpaced the city of Dublin during those times as well. So what do all these numbers mean and all those fancy charts? Overall, we increased occupancy 7%. That results in 5,600 additional room nights. A room night being one person staying in a hotel, one or more people staying in a hotel room. 56 more 100 rooms there. $750,000 in room revenue. Obviously, the weekends are even more impactful for us because during weekdays, the average person in a room is 1 to 2 people. Weekends, people more have to bring their families. That increases to 4 to 5 people as well. So there's much more greater economic impact in the area. I think an important thing to note, too, is when people come to Dublin and spend their budget on travel and tourism, only 29% is on hotel rooms. 71% is on restaurants, shopping, attractions. So you can kind of see the incremental trickle-down impact that they have in our economy. And that's how we get to that 15 to 1. Every dollar you guys spent, we were able to return $15 of your investment. That's how we got to that number as well. Above and beyond dollars and cents, awareness is a big part of what we do, and it's important to the city of Dublin as well. In those regional markets in Pittsburgh, Detroit, and so forth, we were able to really raise awareness of the city. And obviously, it was more of a tourism message, but of course, we're reaching out to people that may be future residents, future business owners on places to be. More than almost 2 million impressions and hundreds of thousands of views on our website, on our videos and so forth. The third and final commitment we made to you was unifying historic Dublin and Bridge Park. I won't get into this. We were here last week announcing that. We're excited. We're in the midst of doing that, and we're going to report back to you in January. We're going to be sick of seeing my mug up here, but we'll get back in January to talk about our results with that alliance as well. And finally, this is something, a big, hairy, audacious goal is what we do. I know it's the Dublin way to dream big, and we do that as well. I think we're trying to figure out ways to generate business during times to meet our weekend needs. So we've been working with the local sports organizations the last 8-9 months to really sit down and really have a collective, initiate really a collaborative, a smart discussion, a good dialogue that we can really explore options to see where it benefits not only visitors but residents as well. So it's ongoing, it's working. We're keeping staff, Dana and Matt, in the loop on what's going on with that group, and we'll report back to you as we kind of go forward to see if there's something we can do finally. And then finally, I think Ann over there has some gifts. She can pass out later to you. But we have these fairy doors with you. And I know, one, I know you've always dreamed of owning your fairy door, so this is your opportunity to do that. But two, I think it's a great example of things we do that it really illustrates the visitor impact above and beyond just hotel room nights. We created this fairy door trail, the nation's first in historic Dublin. Basically, these fairy doors are located in businesses across the historic Dublin with little passports where people can go, write the name of each fairy door, come in our office and get a free t-shirt. It's that simple. Since we launched this, we've had almost 1,000 people complete this. It's very trackable because when people come in, we ask them where they're from to get the shirt. And we've had people from 26 states and 3 countries complete this. Now, we're not saying, I guess my point is, we're not saying people are coming from Canada and Japan to do the ferry door trail. They're obviously not. But I think the point is, when they're here in Dublin, they're looking for things to do, looking for places to spend their money. They could go to Easton, they could go to Players, downtown Columbus. But this is really a good example of how it's drawing visitors and their dollars and cents to the city of Dublin. And when they come in our office, I guarantee 9 times out of 10, when they walk in there, the kids have an ice cream come from Sister Sweet Shop, or a bag from Hey Penny, or Chelsea Borough, or leftovers from Dublin Village Tavern. So they're spending money, which helps the thriving, and it just reinforces the great gym that we have down in historic Dublin and Bridge Park as well. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is the ferry door hike thing still underway, or was that during a certain period this summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, they started, the group came here and they launched these ferry doors. It was the initial launch was in the United States, was here in Dublin, Ohio. So they're selling those all across the country, but in St. Patrick's Day was the official launch here. And we kind of took advantage of their pull, and thought it was a good, unique thing to draw people to Dublin and get people to walk around historic and spend some money.
We're going to repeat that, I take it, next summer again?
Absolutely. We'll continue to grow it and benefit. And I think if we stopped it, the merchants downtown would pretty much kill us. So
Okay.
I think we'll keep it going. Yeah.
Good.
Scott, I've seen other, do you have a ferry door inventory of everything in the city? Can people submit their, so the path that I walk, there's a couple ferry door displays on. Are we encouraging people to take pictures of their ferry doors and build some sort of inventory so that maybe you could change up the route from time to time, so that if people completed one, maybe there would be others for them to do as well?
Yeah, no question. I think it's, we have a website and social media aspect to all this to get people to post and push it back out. And I think we're looking to expand it beyond historic Dublin Bridge Park. This alliance that we talked about earlier, that's going to probably be one of these tactics to get people to go across and really create more of a one big destination for everyone. So it's very walkable. And it's amazing. It's not just kids. I mean, there's adults that do this, and senior citizens get off the bus. They love doing it on a bus tour. So it's not just, 3 to 5 year old kids. They're adults that are doing it and loving it. So, yeah. There's 6 right now. Yep. It's 6 businesses strategically located in historic Dublin, yeah.
Great. Thanks a lot, Scott.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I'm going to audible here real quick, assuming council is okay with it. There is an item that we have under our other agenda item that relates to the Charles Penzone appeal with respect to some determinations under the Bridge Street Development Code. Have gotten a lot of feedback where there are a lot of people that are interested in this. There haven't been anybody that has signed in, but there are applicants here. We do have kind of a healthy agenda. I'm considering, and would everyone be okay if I made a motion to move that other item up to the first part of the agenda as opposed to making them sit through all? I make that motion. Is there a second? Ann?
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Saleh?
Yes.
Mr. Leckleyder?
Yes.
Ms. Amorose Grooms?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Ms. Ludo?
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving the Charles Penzone request up to the beginning of the docket. And again, I would just point out that procedurally where we are, there was a decision made regarding the application of the Bridge Street Development Code, and in that code, there is the ability for an appeal to be taken to City Council. We then, as an initial matter, determine if we are going to entertain the request that is being made as part of the waiver. So all we are deciding this evening is whether or not we are going to entertain that request. If there is a majority of council that does so wish to entertain that waiver request, then it will be scheduled for a November 21st council meeting. Jennifer, did I say that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is similar to the issue we've dealt with before with respect to the parking structure.
Correct.
Okay, so with that being our only decision for this evening, is there someone from the applicant that would like to address the issue?
Good evening. Rob Rischel, Reinhardt, Rischel and Kuckler, 300 East Broad Street, Columbus, 43215. First, thank you very much to the council for moving us up in the agenda. I appreciate it. Seeing your agenda, there's no set presentation. With me tonight is Matt Dunlop from the Charles Penzone Company and Chris Myers from Myers Architecture. Mr. Mayor, you summarized exactly our understanding of the procedure. We'll be here to entertain any questions before any vote. And thank you for the consideration.
Sure. Any questions from council, of staff, or of the applicant?
I have a couple questions. As I read this, this appeal is significantly different in my mind from what we heard with the parking garage, because the Planning and Zoning Commission didn't really vote on the aspect of which the appeal is on, which is the location or the necessity of the street. They excluded that, and they asked that that decision be forwarded to be made by City Council.
They actually did not exclude it. That is one of the conditions, but they were concerned about that. They felt that only council had the jurisdiction to modify that, since that's a code requirement. And that was reiterated at the hearing, that this is a council decision. They said that they encouraged, I believe, Ms. Saleh, can correct me if I'm wrong, but encouraged the applicant to pursue an appeal.
I guess my use of exclusion is that they weren't going to address it. They were going to simply forward that ball to City Council. So we're not, correct me if I'm wrong, but we really are not appealing a decision made by the Planning and Zoning Commission.
So what it is, it would be that there's one condition that requires them to dedicate the right-of-way for that neighborhood street. If you don't believe that street, then you would eliminate that condition, and we would modify then the code, which would be separate from this process, to take out that road from the thoroughfare plan.
I just thought it was important that we understand that,
Right.
that they really didn't make a decision on this, on what we're appealing. They forwarded it.
Amy, you got any light to shed on any?
There was a substantial amount of community interest. We've gotten a lot of emails with residents expressing their concern in that particular neighborhood. And of course, they'll be here at some point to speak for themselves, but there was a lot of concern about introducing this street into their neighborhood that otherwise, the streets there, the homes are built, this would be really changing their environment. And they understand connectivity, and they're not opposed to connectivity, particularly with the Bridge Street district. They're all excited about that. One of their points is they already have 3 or 4 entry points into their neighborhood. They don't feel like they're cut off. And then the other half of this is the Penn Zone portion. They believe that, in order to develop their property, they need to do it without the threat of this road right-of-way being at some point turned into a street that essentially bisects their property. So, you could speak better than that. So in this case, the residents and the developer are kind of on the same side in terms of, this thoroughfare plan is, causing problems for both property owners for different reasons. And the Planning Commission was really uncomfortable with casting aside the thoroughfare plan in favor of this. At the same time, they wanted the concerns to be heard. So it was sort of, well, this thoroughfare plan was a council decision, and amending the thoroughfare plan is a council decision, so this rightfully, this piece of the development belongs in council's discretion.
Okay.
And so here we are.
Great, thank you, Amy. So to Chris's point, Jennifer, it's more of a waiver of the condition as opposed to an appeal of a P&Z decision.
I mean, the method that you have to follow in the code is the appeal process. And so
Right.
what you'd be doing is modifying the decision to eliminate that
Right.
condition. So maybe that's the better way to put it.
Okay, I make a motion then that we schedule a hearing to have that appeal heard at the November 21st council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, before you do that, may we request a delay to the 28th meeting if possible due to the holiday? We'd like to ensure that the Penn Zone, if it's not possible, that's okay.
We could, except we don't have a meeting.
Whichever, I'm sorry, a later
could do
meeting.
it on
date.
December 5th.
That week of Thanksgiving could be very difficult for folks. It might be in the best interest of public
You guys
participation.
live with December 5th?
December 5th would be fine, sir.
Is that okay, Dana? You guys okay with that?
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay. Well, I guess we need to vote. Did someone second my
Need a
motion?
second?
Second.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Lechleiter?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Saleh?
Thank you very much, have a
You're
pleasant.
very welcome. We'll see you on December 5th. Okay, citizen comments. I don't have anyone that has signed in. Is there anyone out in the audience that wishes they would have signed in or has anything to talk about an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Seeing no hands, we will move on to the consent agenda. Is there any item on any of the consent agenda, 7 items that are listed that a council member would like to remove and have placed on the general agenda? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve all 7 actions listed on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Pam?
I'm sorry, I got a little bit out of order here for,
okay.
I have one item that I would like to have a discussion about.
Okay, which one?
Hold on, let me get my notes
Is it the
in order here.
budget 4416?
Yes, 4416.
We will remove ordinance number 4416. I then make a motion that we approve the remaining 6 items on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Ann?
Ms. Salee.
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Can I ask a
Thank you.
question, a procedural question?
Sure.
If we have just a simple question about an item on
Can
the
we ask it
consent
without
agenda,
removing it?
Can we ask it without removing it, or does it have to be?
Is it a simple question you can ask without removing it? Or-
It's-
We've removed it now, so let's just do
No, no,
it.
it's,
Do that way.
it's a simple question, but
That-
I
that
think
wasn't-
procedurally, yeah.
I wasn't talking about her, I was talking about me.
Oh.
I just, well,
By all means, ask away. I'm sorry.
I'm just curious about Aladdin's. Aladdin's restaurant doesn't exist anymore. And I'm curious, are they wanting to come back in another location?
Well, it's operating as Pizza Fire, I believe, currently. And so there are some issues with, I think, the paperwork with getting some of the names. It's that location, but there's just some registration issues. And again, we're only asked to ask for
I
a
gotcha.
hearing.
Okay.
And so it's alluded to in the memo that there's some different names on some of the registrations, some registration issues.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Did we vote yet? Did we vote on that, Ann?
Yes, we did.
We did? Okay. All right, moving on then to 41-16, Ann?
Accepting the updated estimated average per acre value of land for park fees in lieu of land dedication.
Dana?
Good evening, members of council. This parkland fee adjustment is a result of your Section 152.06, the Part C of the subdivision regulations for the city of Dublin, which requires us to update, to appraise and update parkland. The suggested raw land value per this report is $60,000 per acre. The most recently established value in 2013-14 was $45,000 per acre. This value, once approved, will be used by the city when it's determined that money in lieu of land for parkland donation is in the best interest of the city. We tend to try to do this annually. We didn't get that done last year. We were in transition with some folks and fell through the cracks, so we are catching that up, but this is based on a very recent appraisal. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance.
Questions from council?
Thank you for all that information. It was a fascinating read on all of Central Ohio development and things, so appreciate that.
Ann?
Ms. Salee.
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider.
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner.
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Ordinance 42-16, Ann?
Amending Chapter 35 of the codified ordinances to revise the schedule of fees and service charges for City of Dublin services.
Angel?
I'm actually going to defer to Matt Stifler, the financial analyst within the Finance Department, who worked on our cost of services study.
Okay, Matt?
Hi, good evening, council. This is the 2016 update for the cost of services study.
That's quite a summary, man.
It will move near that quickly. Just by way of background, this is a comprehensive update. Next year, we will do the inflationary update, as been as our policy since 2013. The cost study tries to implement both direct and indirect costs for a specific service so that we can match service revenues and service costs. The ordinance is identical to the one presented at the first hearing at the last council meeting and the one presented at the Finance Committee meeting. Here we are. To summarize the fee increases across all departments, there are a few fees in several divisions moving between $5 and $15. There are no changes in parks and planning fees. Recreation is proposing a $200 deposit on the Kaltenbach Park facility. That's not going to be a new fee, it's just going to be a deposit to ensure that the equipment improvements they're making there are able to be maintained and kept safe. The biggest change in this cost study is Events Administration is proposing a tiered fee structure. We're removing the $125 application fee and replacing with the tier fee structure, moving from $25 in 2017 up to $1,100 in 2018 across the different types of external events that we have in the city. With that, I'm open for your questions, and we do recommend approval of this ordinance today.
I had a quick question about the Washington Township fleet maintenance. It seems as though that cost is going up. That is going up as a result of our costs going up as well, and we're just passing those costs through. We're not trying to bilk the poor chief back there out of.
No, correct. Based on our 2013 Memorandum of Understanding, our cost to them is to be based on our fully burdened hourly rate for auto mechanics as health insurance and salaries have increased since 2013. Those costs have gone up by about $4 an hour to $89 an hour. So we are just charging them our fully burdened hourly rate, as we've done since the memorandum was signed.
Any other questions from council?
On our salt surcharge at $1.65 a ton, is that because of loading expenses, or what's the primary driver behind that?
There's service workers involved for approximately 100 hours a year. The fleet administrator and the fleet assistant in billing that, keeping the administrative functions straight, are all involved in that service.
Thank you.
Tim?
Yes, thanks. How do these events administration fees, the proposals, how do they compare to other communities in Central Ohio?
I have not researched that, but at the Finance Committee meeting, Allison mentioned that Columbus had raised theirs and ours are still lower than Columbus, but I haven't done that personally. I'm just going by what she said at that committee meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, Ann?
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Crooms?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
And Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Ordinance 43-16, Ann?
Declaring the improvement to certain parcels of real property in the city's Bridge Street district to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, providing for the collection and deposit of service payments and specifying the purposes for which those service payments may be expended, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcels, authorizing compensation payments to the Dublin City School District and the Tolles Career and Technical Center.
Good evening, members of council. There are no changes from the first reading, which was conducted on October 24th. There were some questions posed specifically related to demolition and the possibility of a lot split. I provided a follow-up memo in your packet regarding both of those topics, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions? No. Ann?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry. Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Crooms?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
44-16, which we removed from the consent agenda, has to do with the budget. Chris?
This is an ordinance to adopt the annual operating budget for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2017.
Chris?
I have some questions regarding the emergency nature of this legislation. We have talked extensively about the need for emergency legislation, and we'll be hearing some emergency legislation items here in a minute that I think speak to the true intent of an emergency. So I'm wondering, one, why this is coming to us as emergency legislation, and two, what we could do to prevent it from being required to be passed as emergency legislation in the future.
So let me take a step back. There's actually going to be a corresponding piece of legislation that actually appropriates the dollars. So the budget, if you will, and the approval of it is kind of secondary to that actual appropriation ordinance that council passes. Traditionally, we have brought that forward after the budget workshops at the one meeting in December, actually waived the public hearing and the second reading of it and passed it so that come January 1st, those appropriations can be in place for the beginning of the fiscal year. So the operating budget in part is really driven, one, by the the schedule that's established well in advance. So the budget workshops, as you're aware, have been scheduled for this coming Wednesday and then next Monday. We typically have had 2 workshops to go through all of the questions and all of the budget. That allows us time to turn it around and get it in a state that's acceptable come that meeting in December. I would also say in the context of, when you think about our operating budget, as well as our capital budget schedule, we bring forward for council's approval in September the capital budget. Behind the scenes, we are working on the operating budget at the same time. So we certainly, in the future, could entertain moving up the workshops for the operating budget. I would only offer that to the extent that you bring those earlier in the year, you don't have as much historical data. Would 1 month make a lot of difference? I don't know. It just, you have more time to compile those requests. There's a lot of legwork from not just a finance department standpoint, but from a staff's perspective and a council perspective to review the capital budget and then turn right back around and put the operating budget together. So I think it's more in terms of a logistical, like getting everything in place. But certainly the most governing document and piece of legislation is actually that appropriation ordinance that we will be bringing forward once we know what council's intent is with the operating.
I would also like to add, if you don't mind, certainly not intended to box anyone in, but there's the initial introduction of the legislation, 2 workshops, and then a second reading. So there's like 4 opportunities of discussion, not only with council, but also public input. You know, as the city manager presenting this budget, you know, I'm more hopeful that we'll have 1 workshop. You like my budget so well that we'll only have 1 workshop, and we'll have a second reading, at which time you'll be able to pass it, and then you really won't have to do it by emergency. But that's the city manager's hope, so.
So, and we amend the budget frequently.
We do.
So I hope I have the support of my fellow council members. I'd really like to see us move in a direction and work towards, we're not calling this an emergency because, you know, we know that there'll be a budget in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. We know all of that today. And so I'd like to see us, you know, if we have to do a budget amendment subsequently because maybe we didn't have a piece of information or for whatever reason, I don't mind amending the budget, but the emergency nature of this legislation is problematic for me. So whatever we can do, I appreciate you thinking through our options and would really like to head in that direction. So thank you.
Any other questions from council on that? Okay, there will be a second hearing on the budget at the December 5th council.
I think Angel did a very good job explaining what they're doing on this, so
She did.
I want to thank you.
As always.
I
Spot on.
understand, you know, the sequence of the development of this, so
It's
thank you.
providing a whole bunch of due process right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, pushing from both
I
sides.
guess I don't think the terminology of emergency budget is that important to me because I understand the process and what they're doing, so.
I think the
But it'd be
important
nice,
nature
you know, I understand what you're
of
saying.
the emergency portion is that that all of the faculties are available to all of our public should they choose to disagree with us.
Yeah. Well, they certainly have enough time, as she explained, to disagree with us.
Okay. All right, first readings. I make a motion to waive council rules of order in order to address ordinances 45-16, 46-16, and 47-16 together. Is there a second? Ann?
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Mr. Lucklider?
Yes.
Ms. Salee? Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Ordinance 4516, authorizing the city manager to execute necessary conveyance documents to acquire 0.357 acre more or less permanent sanitary sewer easement, 0.212 acre more or less temporary construction easement, 0.018 acre more or less temporary construction easement, and a 0.158 acre more or less temporary easement from Muirfield Village Golf Club and the property located adjacent to Kilbannon Court for the public purpose of constructing a sanitary sewer and declaring an emergency. 4616 is authorizing the city manager to execute necessary conveyance documents to acquire 0.016 acre more or less permanent sanitary sewer easement, 0.001 acre more or less temporary construction easement from James and Susan Hardenden from the property located at 5885 Kilbannon Court for the public purpose of constructing sanitary sewer, declaring an emergency. 4716 is authorizing the city manager to execute necessary conveyance documents to acquire a 0.033 acre more or less permanent sanitary sewer easement from Brian and Emily Weeks from the property located at 5929 McEwen Court for the public purpose of constructing a sanitary sewer, declaring an emergency. We need an introduction.
Yeah. Dan?
Okay. Good evening again. Thank you. So more succinctly than what the title says, this is about constructing and upsizing the Deer Run sanitary sewer. The city's obtaining certain permanent sanitary sewer easements and the temporary construction easements. We have reached amicable agreement regarding these permanent and temporary easements with the 3 property owners as cited in these 3 ordinances. I want to thank the Muirfield Village Golf Club for their donation of their easement to allow us to do this work and their cooperation relative to the timing of this construction, which is very critical, given they're, trying to get this construction done in a certain period of time, as well as those residents affected. The other 2 easements are at $2,000 and then $6,775 respectively, so I thank those residents for their cooperation. So staff recommends council pass these ordinances, and we ask that you do that by emergency as sanitary sewer, certainly related to the safety, health, and welfare of the public, and also it's driven significantly too by, well, it's not an emergency reason, but for timing and to get this done in a very timely manner. So we appreciate your support and recommend approval of these 3 ordinances. Thank you.
Dana, could you outline a little bit about the backup situation that is referred to in these memos?
Under heavy rain conditions, certain properties have experienced backup situations. It's happened multiple times. We've worked with in installing backflow devices, worked cooperatively with these residents. We believe the upsizing of this, and we've done other improvements in manholes in the area to divert. We also do manual pumping, pumping over from manhole to manhole. So we sort of have a, excuse the expression, Chief, sort of a fire drill when it comes to our sanitary sewer folks when we have heavy rains to respond to that. So we do everything we can to prevent that. We believe that this construction will significantly improve that situation. I'll never suggest it ever stops it completely, but we hope that it will have that effect.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure that we outline what the emergency nature of this, and that certainly checks the boxes for emergency when we can prevent our neighbors' basements from flooding with sewer and other undesirable.
Can anybody speak to the last time we had such an incident?
I think it's been almost a year since we have had that situation actually occur. I could check and advise on that,
No,
but it's been about that long.
That's good enough. Thank you. I just thought that was important in the context of emergency discussion. I'd also add my thanks to the Muirfield Village Golf Club for their donation. Much appreciated.
Any other questions from council? I make a motion that we dispense with public hearing and treat this matter as an emergency. Is there a second?
Second.
Dan?
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Leckliter?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
And on the ordinances?
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Ms. Salee? Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Mr. Leckliter?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Councilmember Leckliter makes an excellent point regarding 44-16. We never voted because we removed it from the consent agenda. Does it need vote for?
No.
No.
So
No.
it would have, we vote on whatever needs a vote on the consent
Correct,
agenda, and that didn't
yeah.
happen in E1.
Right. We put it in, for first reading, some of those we put in for public, so you have the information, so the public has the information, but there's no vote on first reading, but it's put together to expedite. Yeah.
So we're good. Thank you, Tim, for pointing that out. Ordinance 50-16, Ann?
Amending the 2007 Dublin Community Plan to incorporate the Shire Rings Road Corridor Area Plan. Need an introduction?
I'll introduce it.
Joanne?
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Members of council. This is an ordinance to amend the community plan with regards to the character study for the Shire Rings corridor. If you would like, I can go through the overview. It describes the process and analysis that was completed.
Council interested in that, or doing that at the next? We can do that at the next hearing. We might as well just do it once.
Excellent.
Any questions of Joanne from council?
I just wanted to thank you for the SWOT analysis. I found that very helpful, the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. that was a really great way to concisely provide that information and at least for me, I can't speak for others, of a framework of making a decision when you have all of the information that concisely presented. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. I have to give some credit to Rachel Ray, who started the plan. Make sure that everyone recognizes her effort as well.
I'll pass my thanks along to her as well, please. Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you back on November 21st.
Great. Thank you.
Resolution 50-16, Ann?
Is Resolution 56, authorizing the city manager to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the United Steelworkers of America regarding wages, hours, and terms and conditions of employment for employees within the maintenance worker, fleet technician 1, and custodial worker bargaining unit.
Dana?
I'll introduce it.
Thanks, Bill. Dana?
Okay, thank you, Council. So this is the result of several months of negotiations between the management and the bargaining unit, the United Steelworkers of America. I want to thank both the management team as well as the employees and the United Steelworkers and the professionalism with which they did this and with great speed. We are very pleased with the outcome of this agreement. It has been ratified by the membership, and we recommend a passage of this resolution. I also want to pay special thanks to Billy Boyce, Mr. Billy Boyce, who was the sub-district director for District 1 of the United Steelworkers. We worked with Billy for many, many years in these type of negotiations. Unfortunately, he very unexpectedly passed away during this process. And I just wanted to mention for him and his family how much we appreciated all the years past of great work and interaction that we've had with him, and certainly honor this. And they put a dedication in this agreement to him since he was very involved in this process. So Homer Rogers, our Director of Human Resources, is here as well if you have any specific questions about the agreement.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Ann?
Sorry, Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Lechleiter?
Yes.
And Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Resolution 57-16.
Resolution of intent to appropriate a 0.078 acre more or less permanent easement from 495 Metro Place LLC located on Metro Place South for the public purpose of constructing a public shared use path and related improvements.
Dana?
I'll introduce it.
Yes, this has to do with as the title suggests, with the shared use path in regards to Smiley Park, and staff recommends approval of this resolution of intent.
Questions from council? Hearing none. Ann?
Mr. Lechleiter?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Resolution 58-16.
Resolution of intent to appropriate a 0.180 acre more or less permanent easement from West Point Metro Lakes SPE LLC located at 485 Metro Place South for the public purpose of constructing a public shared use path and related improvements.
I'll introduce it.
Dana?
Same thing, this is in reference to a shared use path related to Smiley Park, and we hope to have an amicable discussion with the grantor and come to a resolution on this. Staff recommends approval.
Questions from council? Ann?
Ms. Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Reiner?
Yes.
Mr. Lechleiter?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Ms. Salee?
Yes.
All right, moving on to the other portion of our agenda. We have already taken care of the other portion of our agenda.
Congratulations.
See how smart that was to do? Staff comments. Dana?
Thank you again, members of council. Just a couple notes. Budget workshop, as a reminder, this Wednesday. Wanted to point out a couple items that when your packet, the CIP project updates and the communication outlook, I think continue to provide you a good update on where we are in all those various projects. Tuesday, November 15th from 5:30 to 8 is the JASCO Economic Business Seminar. Would encourage the public to come out to that. That's an annual economic business seminar that's put on by the Japanese American Society of Central Ohio. It'll be held at the Rec Center. Again, November 15th from 5:30 to 8, and Consul General, the Honorable Consul General Wada of Japan will be there presenting, and encourage you to come out to that. Also, the Economic Development 411 will be held Friday, December 2nd from 8 a.m. to 1:15 at the Ohio Union, the Ohio State University. That's was started by the Columbus 2020 and Economic Development Regional Cooperative intended primarily for elected officials, but it's grown a lot to include a lot of others. So if you can make it to that, would encourage you to do so. It's a great regional update on economic development. I'll have a coffee on November 10th from 9 to 11 and encourage the public to come out to that here to City Hall. Those are always very informative for me, and I appreciate when the public comes out to that. And congratulations to our Citizen Police Academy folks to graduate on November 17th. The Riverside Drive underpass, we keep our fingers crossed, should be opening up here practically any day. I was hoping, Megan actually had to go home sick today. I was hoping she could give you an update on that. And then the 270-33 project, the interchange, if you haven't, I'm sure you've noticed, but it's watching that grading get done and hopefully those other ramps opening up here soon, that project. And this weather has been, I probably shouldn't say this because I'll jinx us, but knock on wood, has been terrific to wrap up these construction projects. We already talked about Veterans Day. We were named this last week Best Small Cities, number 14 on the Best Small Cities in America list by Wallet Hub. It's always great to get that kind of validation and recognition. And then last, Angel put at your seats a staff report, but attached to that is our reports from both Moody and Fitch, our bond rating agencies. We will be going out on a $9.2 million sale of general obligation bonds, and we're pleased to report that they came back with essentially AAA ratings again. So please, when you get a chance, read those reports. If you have any questions, call Angel or myself. And other than any questions you may have of me, that's all I have. Thank you.
Council, any questions of staff? Okay, committee reports. P&Z, Amy?
We met in a joint workshop last Thursday with the ARB, and we talked and heard reports about the Riverside Park development. And generally speaking, I would say that the bodies were very supportive, very impressed. One interesting thing that you will notice when this comes back to us was that the ice rink has been removed from the plan. It was found to be just not really workable from a financial standpoint or from an environmental standpoint, what the presence of an ice rink would do in the park for a number of reasons just wasn't going to be workable. So that was interesting, but I guess we'll be seeing the Riverside Park come to council, or what's the next step with that?
December 5th.
December 5th?
Yes,
Okay.
coming.
All right, so I just want to make sure it was going to come back. When will we be naming or hearing about names for the park?
December 5th.
Okay. All right, so that's what we've been up to at P&Z.
We hope to bring that naming convention to you on December 5th.
Great, thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Amy. Mike is not here, Administrative Committee. John, Community Development Committee?
Nothing, Mayor.
How about Mike's not here for Finance, Public Services. Amy, back to you. Morpsey, Tim?
Nothing.
How about your list here of Logan Union, US 33 Innovation Corridor?
Probably your last chance to indicate whether you want to attend the annual dinner. Okay? All right. Giving you every opportunity, but I'll be there. Thanks.
Dublin Arts Council, John?
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Board of Education, Chris and Christina?
We met on the 26th of October and had a very good meeting, talked a lot of a lot of the current events. Really, a large portion of our time was spent discussing social needs in our community. It was, I think, fueled by the opiate addiction crisis that we are facing, but reached into some other mental health issues. I think Dana's going to begin looking at additional ways that the city might participate in some of the social issues in our community. I think he's just going to start peeling back that onion at the very beginning and see what might be appropriate ways for us to participate, outside of our relationship with Centero and the schools and some of those other things. So there are some social needs in our community, and as we become a larger city, might be more appropriate for us to participate in them from a city perspective, much like you see with the city of Columbus and other growing areas. So we'll look forward to Dana and Dr. Hoadley and us continuing to explore what that might look like for us.
Just to add a little bit onto what Chris was talking about, Teresa May, the president of the School Board of Education, had some really, what? Sorry, Lynn May. I'm across the pond. I am. I'm on another continent. Lynn had some great ideas about bringing potentially some community churches and things together, because it's not just about opiate addiction, it's also about alcohol usage and other social issues as well that kids face. And alcohol use is still the school's largest usage of non-legal substances that kids face today. So we talked a lot about that and how we might partner with the school in other ways, not just as relates to opiate addictions, although that would be a big part of the potential for the conversation to move forward. But I thought overall it was a great conversation.
I'm just constantly impressed with Dr. Hoadley and the board and the school's willingness, the courage they show to address these issues, because most of them are not caused by them, but they are attempting to address them. And I really have a lot of respect for them trying to do that. Washington Township, Sarah, Chief, you got anything you want to talk about? Nothing like being put on the spot, huh? Okay, all's well with Washington Township. Dublin Friendship Association, Christina?
We have an upcoming meeting on the 15th, so I'll have more for you after that.
We will wait for your update. Council Roundtable, Chris?
I was having lunch in the Sunny Street Cafe last week, and one of the operators there, Kate McHale, many of you know her because they're such great corporate citizens. They participate in virtually everything we've ever asked them to do. And it was really fun because she came to the table and her face was aglow that she had been given the opportunity, is how she viewed it, to make a wish come true, to grant a wish. Through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, there is a pancake dinner on Friday, November 11th from 4 to 8 p.m. And all of the proceeds benefit Zaza's wish to go on a Disney cruise. And I'm going to forward out a flyer. I'm going to try to put it on Facebook and through Dublin Moms in the Know and some other outlets. Really great story, really great kid, really great organization, and these terrific corporate citizens are working really hard to make this girl's wish come true. So I will forward it to you, and hopefully you can attend. So appreciate that. That's all I have.
Christina?
I'm good.
Amy? Anything?
I wanted to address the issue of panhandling, just for the benefit of the public. We've gotten a couple different questions through our Contact City Council, and we've gotten some responses out to the people that have inquired. But I wanted to make sure that that was shared with the public, and I wanted to make sure I understood what we were saying about panhandling in the city. And the way I understand it is an individual is allowed to be in our community in the public right-of-way, carrying a sign, asking passerbys for money or food or whatever it is that they would like. That is their First Amendment right, and we can't really prevent that, nor would we want to, because that would be an infringement upon someone's constitutional right.
Correct, and we provided a memo that's got some case law that discusses that in more detail,
Okay.
illustrations.
Okay. I'm thinking if maybe we could have a link to that for the public, because on some of the social media sites and our own city discussions, people have been inquiring about, what's going on and why is this allowed in my community? And I think that it's a good topic to address, just because there's a lot of concern out there. So I wanted to make sure that that got some light shown upon it. And kind of on the flip side of that, I just wanted to congratulate Angel and her team on the bond rating, and congratulations to you, fellow council members, for handling our city's finances in such a way that we'd be recognized again. Congratulations to you and your team, Angel. Very well done. Another point of pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Tim?
Just want to point out to folks that at your place tonight was a schedule for our hearing, November 9th. So if you were looking for that, that's the schedule we'll be adhering to this Wednesday. And then also, for everyone that may not have voted early, by absentee or otherwise, would encourage you to go to your polling location tomorrow and exercise your right to vote. It's a right that doesn't exist everywhere in this world, and it's important to cast your vote. Doesn't matter who you're casting it for, but exercise your right. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. John?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody about the Veterans Day ceremony at 11 o'clock on the 11th, and the entire community is welcome. Congratulations again on the award for the city. We've been declared the happiest city, the best city, and every other. And I'd be sort of interested in finding out, but not right now, what happened in the program on the National Bicycle Program, if we moved up or not a notch, and then we'd be the only city with the highest award, I guess, in the state of Ohio for that status if we made the cut. So important on just the communications or the transportation side for our residents. Thank you.
I had a couple of things, yeah, and I would just echo Amy's comments concerning the AAA bond rating. I mean, this whole operation grinds to a halt if that bond rating doesn't stay where it is. And when you think about everything that the city's doing, that we've maintained that level, it's really phenomenal. So excellent work. I think it was Wednesday night I got an email from the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Ireland, his secretary, whoever it is that handles the scheduling, and he said, I'm going to be in Dublin, or I'm going to be in Ohio. I'd like to stop in and pay you a visit. So after I sort of panicked, I sent that on to Dana. I'm like, what do we do? And the next day, the city staff pulled together in this room a meeting where the Lord Mayor came, Lord Mayor Carr. He was a terrifically charming gentleman. And Dana and I spent about an hour with him talking about our community and things. It was a very impromptu visit, I think, even on his part. He explained that he kind of likes to wander around in his blue jeans and look at things and look at it from that kind of a perspective. He was very interested in the advice Dana had about economic development and things. And then I got to tell you, Dana literally dropped everything he was doing and spent probably about the next 6 or 7 hours with the Lord Mayor. He took him on
Like
a
the
tour
next
of Dublin.
24 hours, but it was great.
Yeah, and then so he spent the evening with them. They went to dinner. The next day, we actually had what's the name of that organization we go to, Dana?
Yeah, it was the Central Ohio Mayors Managers Association, just happened to be meeting the next day, and Mayor Ginther of Columbus hosted it. in
I'm
Columbus
sitting
City
here,
Hall, which
I
was
have
great.
Mayor Ginther on one side and the Lord Mayor of Dublin, Ireland on the other, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? He had this chain, and there's pictures, I'm sure there'd be pictures somewhere of this guy. He had this chain that he wore that's a sort of a ceremonial, symbolic chain that was 347 years old.
Over 350 years old, given to them by William of Orange.
Yeah, just a fascinating guy, and I have to tell you, the city staff on virtually no notice, and Dana, the amount of attention that Dana paid to him, and they are extremely interested in pursuing an additional relationship with us. And I don't know, Dana, if you have any other comment to make.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I really want council to know this was so impromptu. We just couldn't even get everybody mustered. We didn't even know what time he was actually going to show up. And the interesting thing is he had been in Chicago, I think involved in some sort of rugby thing, but he had a big interest in the voting process. And given what's going on in America right now with voting, he had a really big interest in the process and the parties and all that sort of thing. I believe he mentioned that the U.S. ambassador to Ireland, Ambassador Anderson, I believe his name, recommended to the Lord Mayor that he pay a visit to the Midwest. Because a lot of times when these delegations and so forth come to the United States, as we've learned, we try to get people to come here, be they from China or Japan or wherever, they tend to go to the big cities. They hit the East Coast, they hit the West Coast. They might hit Chicago or Atlanta on the way through. Getting them to stop here and spend time with us is a challenge. So he picked the Midwest. Ohio was a battleground state, so he thought that would be really interesting. So he came to meet with the political parties, and he said, I can't miss not going to Dublin, Ohio. So it just kind of worked out, and it was very, as the mayor said, very impromptu. But we had a great dialogue, great discussion, and agreed that we would circle back on the notion of building a bigger relationship with Dublin, Ireland, the city of Dublin, Ireland itself, And Nancy and I have been talking about that. We'll certainly advance some ideas to you all, and I think Christina will wind up, Councilmember Ludo, in that committee as well, as to some ideas about that. So he agreed to share some ideas on that going forward, which is terrific, because I know that we've tried for a long time to get that kind of a connection going. So it kind of, I don't mean literally fell out of the sky, but it kind of fell out of the sky, so.
It's very, very, literally, it was just like that. And he said, everybody in Dublin, Ireland has heard of Dublin, Ohio. You know, so it was a very rewarding thing. And Dana, what you pulled off, and with absolutely no notice, was terrifically representative of this city, and you did a fantastic job, really fantastic job. Then yesterday, I had the opportunity to go, Mr. Pandel Savic, who's up in John's neck of the woods, wrote his memoirs, and he was the quarterback of the first Ohio State team to win the Rose Bowl in 1949. Fascinating man. And one of the attendees of this reception he had for his memoirs being published was the ambassador of Macedonia. So now here I am meeting the ambassador of Macedonia, and I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? He was a very charming guy, and he said, your city is very clean. So I took that as, I thought that was a positive. I said, all right, I'll take it. So it was just two opportunities that I had, and serving in this role is a very humbling thing to do, and to have the opportunity to meet folks of that caliber and to be representing this city is really a humbling thing for me to do, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. So with that, we are adjourned.